Hey everyone, Matt here from Docs Running, and today we're going to do a full review of the variety of different ASICS neutral training shoes. Now, the purpose of this review is getting to the fact that ASICS has a lot of different training shoes out there. There's three really big ones in the neutral category, including the ASICS Nimbus 26, the now GlideRide Max, and the ASICS Superblast 2. So for those of you that are interested in the ASICS lineup, this can be a little confusing going, hey, like there's a lot of these shoes, what's the difference between them? So I'm hoping to help you figure out what the differences are between these, and if you even are interested in this stuff, which one might work better for you. Now, just to give you a little context, and I gotta give credit to Nathan for this, I'm gonna tell you a little bit about who I am in terms of my running, and hopefully that'll help guide you as to whether you should even listen to my opinion of this stuff as whether it relates to you or not. So fairly heavy heel striker, run anywhere from 60 to 70 miles a week. A lot of that is in the form of different faster workouts, not as much racing right now because I've got a little one, and most of my running is with a stroller. I, again, really prefer shoes that tend to have a little bit wider toe box, but not too wide, and I have a fairly normal foot outside of any of that kind of stuff. So normal width, nothing too narrow or nothing too wide, just fairly normal, but I am very sensitive to narrow stuff. I do prefer a teeny bit firmer shoe, but not the firmest or the softest, kind of like that Goldilocks feel. Now, getting into this, first of all, the ASICS Nimbus is the shoe that we're going to start with. This is your tried and true neutral premium daily trainer from ASICS. Been around for obviously a long time. Been redone in the last couple of years. Now a much more rockered, higher stack. The specs coming in at 303 grams or 10.7 ounces, so a little bit on the heavier side, and then 41.5 in the heel, 33.5 in the forefoot for a 8mm drop. So this is, again, the premium neutral daily training shoe for them. Fairly soft ride throughout. It's of the three of these, definitely the best walking, like normal walking and normal running shoe. Extremely comfortable for all day wear. There is still a little bit of a heel here, so that does kind of make heel landings a little bit clunky initially, but that does break in because the sole is fairly soft. This is not a firm shoe by any means. There's a good amount of sink into the midsole. The underfoot feel is actually pretty soft, so very, very comfortable, very soft insole, very top layer of the midsole for sure. Durability has actually been really, really good, and I found it really good for just easy running. Because it's a little heavier and a little bit softer, it's really best for if you're spending long periods on your feet, either walking or longer efforts, longer runs, easy runs, is where this really, really, really shines. Now, it's not a flexible shoe. There's a teeny bit of flexibility, but it's a fairly rocker shoe with a good forefoot rocker, but it doesn't feel too stiff. Very natural, flowing ride that's very, very comfortable, again, for easier efforts. The fit is probably the most relatively roomy of this group. Now, it's not roomy by like overall shoes. It is the most straight of these. It doesn't taper as much, and there is a decent amount of stretch to the upper, but it's a fairly normal width fit, except for a little bit slightly narrow in the toe box, which is fairly normal for ASICS. A little bit of a thick upper compared to the rest of these shoes. A lot of heel collar cushioning. So of the three of this, if you have a sensitive heel, this might be the one shoe for you, but no, there is a heel counter. So again, most comfortable walking and running shoe is where you're going to feel best if you're looking at the Nimbus 26. Now, moving on to the ASICS GlideRide Max. Now the GlideRide series, one that a lot of people have really liked because it's so aggressively rockered in the forefoot. This version is now the GlideRide Max that spec-wise is coming in at 10.1 ounces or about 287 grams. There is a little higher stack height than Nimbus, coming in at 44 millimeters in the heel, 38 in the forefoot for a 6mm drop compared to the 8mm drop of the other two, and it feels much lower. So again, while the Nimbus feels softer right underfoot, I will say the foam here with the Flight Foam Blast Max does compress a lot more, so it's much more compliant, even though the Nimbus feels softer. So that lower drop, if you're a heel striker than me, feels even lower. So if you like a really low drop shoe, this is probably going to feel the best of the three of these. It's also the only one of the three that's actually plated. Even though the Superblast is the stiffest, there is an EVA plate here, which gives just a teeny bit of rigidity, although this still has a little bit of flexibility, but it makes this feel very rocker, especially off the front of the shoe. So if you want a really rolling sensation, especially up the front, that's where this feels really, really nice. The heel is not as posterior, and they actually will say that they've done a good job finally with a little more posterior lateral bevel. So smoothest heel of the group, but definitely the most compliant midsole. So if you land at the back, it's gonna feel a lower drop. And rolling along, little lighter, it can pick up the pace just a little bit, but it's still a shoe that's meant for easier running, longer running, and efficient stuff. Doesn't feel as good, in my opinion, for walking, just because of the plate and the more aggressive rocker, but some people may vary on that. Fit-wise, there's a little bit more forefoot width in this shoe, but it does taper a good amount, especially thanks to the little more stiff toe guard up front. There's slightly lower volume. I have felt this is pushed down on my toes. So if you have a very high volume wide foot, this may not be the best option for you. But if you need a little bit more width and you have a lower volume foot, this is where this is going to do really, really well. Similar, somewhat stiff heel counter. So if you're sensitive to those, this may not be the best option, but a fairly good ride overall. I will also say that it's not as stable just because, again, there's some really good stable neutral elements to the shoe, but because the midsole is so compliant, this is not the best one if you need a little bit of guidance, where the Nimbus might actually be a little bit better because the sole is a little bit wider, sidewalls are a little bit more present. But honestly, if you want guidance, the last one is going to be probably the best for this. So the Superblast is my personal favorite, and I'm a little bit biased with this because I tend to like lightweight trainers. Now, this has full-length Flight Foam Turbo Plus with a bottom layer midsole that I am totally blanking on right now because I'm trying to remember too many things. But there are two different midsoles here. There is no plate, but this is the stiffest one of the group of these. It's also the highest stack. So coming in at 45 millimeters in the heel, 37 in the forefoot for an 8 millimeter drop. And it definitely feels extremely high off the ground. It's also the bounciest and the one that's going to work for faster running. This is my go-to long run shoe because I tend to like a little bit more up-tempo feel for longer efforts, especially when I'm getting tired and pushing Isabella in the stroller, my daughter. But it's got the tallest and the bounciest foam, and it's, again, the one that can definitely, if you want a shoe, maybe you don't want a carbon plated shoe, but you still want a really bouncy ride that works really well for longer distance. Like if you're like, I don't know if I want to use maybe the Metaspeed series or something else for a marathon, this is an excellent marathon, half marathon racing shoe for a lot of people just because it's more comfortable, not plated, and it's got that same bounce without being overly bouncy or unstable. Like I said, sidewalls are really good here on both sides of the foot. It's also got a wider base, and it is very stiff underfoot. So very, very, very much stable neutral, and an excellent shoe if you need a little bit more guidance and you want something a little more bouncy. The fit is more racing-esque. What I mean by that, it is much more snug, lower volume. I've struggled a little bit with the forefoot. It's been a little bit more tapered than the previous version. Once it breaks in on the run, it feels fine. But if you want a closer fit of the three of these, this is the one that's probably going to work best. If you have a little narrower foot or just want a kind of a racier feel, this is going to be the one to get it. But again, if you also want that rocker feel, this is also going to provide that large forefoot rocker, rolls along really well. A little bit extra stuff in the heel, which is kind of classic for ASICS, but it's got a solid heel bevel, so it kind of kicks you along. So this is the faster shoe of the group. Now, I don't know why I threw those over there because I have to step out of the camera and go grab them. But that is the summary of the three of these. The premium neutral daily training shoes of the ASICS lineup. Again, to summarize this, you want faster, go with the ASICS Superblast 2. You want more rocker, especially off the forefoot, go with the GlideRide Max. And if you want something just kind of your more traditional, well-cushioned shoe for walking and running, the Nimbus 26 is going to be the best of these. As always, I hope this is helpful. The whole point of this is helping you figure out, if you're even interested in this stuff, which one might you want to consider best. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments below, because I want to know, are you having similar experiences to me, different experiences? Your comments always help not only me kind of get feedback, but also others that are coming looking for information. And if anything can help you, that is all we're looking for.